Top of the afternoon to you, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. We're going to do a little taste test comparison. From what I'm understanding, it's about 85 today, but it's going to be monsooning here. Maybe to the point I had wished I'd built an ark. You never know. But anyway, we have a pretty new 661 on the left. And we have a pretty new 400 on the right. There's a 30-inch some more lightweight bar. That chain was on a falling mission for part of a day. Well, kind of the better part of a day, actually. It's a Carlton, which is also the Woodsmen Pro. I'm not actually positive on where the stops are. We're going to take a look at that at some point. We'll take a look at the weights maybe during the intermission, but I'm going to warm that 400 up off camera with that magnesium piston in there. I like to make sure they're good and warm, I guess, on a personal note. So this is going to be the widest part because this is on the back side of a knot. We're on the the knot is starting to wane and go out of the log at this point. It's essentially 24 inches across. That means that the 400 is going to have the longest or the widest cut in this particular session. On a personal note, I've watched this saw win against the 500i, and so I was kind of curious to see how it did running against the 661. Like I said, I was out falling with this chain, and so the stops can probably come down a little bit more. They're maybe down around 50 or something like that. I don't know what you can see of that. I'll take one up here. Yeah, this is a smidge high on the Oregon gauge it right below my thumb. I'm hoping that you can see it says 60 thousandths or 1.5 millimeters. We're going to do the bar change off camera and warm that 661 up. Okay, so one thing we probably need to look at real quick is the differential in the diameter. Now it's down around 22. So we lost a little bit of diameter in this process on the 661. Now it's 21 3/4. Yeah, it's a little under 22, I guess. So, all right, just for kicks, we're going to swap the bar and chain out, put it back on that 400 and run it again in the same configuration that it is now with the AM air filter system number 1 that I tried, at least at this point. Seems like that runs second best. Now that we've lost some distance in the cut, or diameter, if you will. And then we're going to swap out the air cleaner for the AM number 4 version that I tried, which I think that's the strongest of all of them, since this is about as good as it's been for me so far with the testing process, with not a bunch of knot interference, I guess, if you will. Something hard right there. There's a knot coming up on the left. Well, some kind of growth right here. I don't know. It could be a knot, I guess. It's hard to tell. It's pretty much pitched in. Had to take a pretty thick slice off the last cookie because I cut out trying to save the wood. We'll get a couple of those rounds that disappeared. You can see something's happening in the center of this operation, and we're kind of cutting out of it. So the 661 really wasn't seeing much of that, whatever that is. In the center, not really much. Kind of just starting to get into it a little bit with the 661. So that means that the 400 had a worse go of it, because whatever that is in the center is hard. Right here. There's a big old knot right here we're coming up on. Actually, there's one just a fuzz. There's a huge one right here. It's like about 5.5 inches in diameter. There's something happening right in here, though, I can tell looking at the tree. If we want to talk about the HP numbers for a minute, we have 7.2, 7.1. They kind of vary a little bit, I've noticed. Depends on where you're looking. And we have 5.4 for the 400. So do the math there. See what the differential is. We're down on displacement, 91.1 versus 66.8. So I watched that 400 outrun a 500i. Either version of the air cleaners that we saw here today. And if it runs even close to that 661, I'm going to be super magnanimously pleased with the process, because it's not the second saw up in the lineup, it's the third saw in the lineup. We're giving up huge displacement. If we dig into the file system here, and I actually turned the volume up on my lighting, we want to take a look at the 400. I don't know if you can see the number 15.4. We're looking at it upside down because that's the way I was dealing with it. If we want to look at the 661, we can hopefully see 19.2. Let's try that again on the 400. We'll zoom it in a little bit. Yeah, we can see the 15.4. Want to talk about bore and stroke? We have a 56 millimeter bore by a 37 millimeter stroke. We have a 50 millimeter bore by a 34 millimeter stroke in the 400. It's giving up a ton of displacement, as I kind of already alluded to. It's giving up a ton of horsepower. Those smog saws, especially the Stihl versions, aren't necessarily like designed well in a way for a guy to get power out of them. They're kind of all top end saws in a way, although you can see me yarding on the handlebar and the pistol grip when we're going up or down. The Samora bar is a really old one. I've had that since about 99, so like well over 20 years. It's not a shorty 30. I think it's on the long side of a 30. It's either 100 or 101 drivers of 3/8 chain. I kind of like that for the size of wood now. Back when I got it, it was kind of small. I never really used it, clearly. So that's it for this session. I'm going to be curious. Check the description for the timed runs. I'll scrutinize that heavily before I post any of that information. Have a blessed day wherever you might be on God's green earth.